Okay, I guess is my am I streaming? Hello, test one, two, three. Is my mic working? Test. Okay, I have got to see if my mic is working because I've got a feeling I've been talking to myself. So let me turn on YouTube here and see if it's coming across to my stream there. Hear myself? I can hear myself. Okay. So I don't know how much you guys have heard, if anything. Here, not here. Yeah, that definitely describes me today. Okay, so I may just go ahead and start talking over again. See, I'm not seeing anything. Normally, you see the gray bars around your picture. I'll make a bet. I know I'm not seeing the gray bars. Okay. Anyway, uh, y'all, I may have already said this. Y'all may have already, well, I've already said this, but y'all may or may not have heard me. So I want to start over again. I've been somewhat been up about 40 some odd hours now. Can't go to sleep. So I figured, what the hey, I'll go ahead and stream. And yeah, my grandbaby was born. TOB. I like that. And I've started calling him Blaze, but other people started calling him TOB. And I think I'm just going to keep it that way. TOB. 22 inches, 7 pounds, 1 ounce. And he is the pride of his daddy's eye. Wonderful little baby. I got to hold him. Had to argue with the wife. Had to fight with the wife to get to hold him because, of course, we got to the hospital once we were allowed. Once they were allowed visitors, we got up to the hospital and they let us in to see him. And the wife, I mean, as soon as my daughter-in-law offered him up, the wife was there. Like, I mean, Superman couldn't have moved. The Flash and Superman couldn't have moved any faster. And after about 45 minutes, I said, okay, girl, you've got to give him up because grandpa wants to hold him. I want to hold my grandson. And everybody started laughing because they know, and the wife even admitted it, that she's going to get a lot more opportunity to hold that grand boy than I am. And so I got to hold him for about a half hour, 45 minutes. Then I had to give him back up. And mostly because he started pooping all over the place. So, and then it was time. We were able to stay there for about an hour, hour and a half before they kicked us out. And then they released him yesterday evening, and they swung. I promised them, so they swung by here, and I loaded them down with enough food to feed them all through the night last night and through mostly through the day today, so they don't have to worry about doing any cooking or anything. And then I'm sure her mama and her sisters are all going to be piling over there with all kinds of food and everything else. So they shouldn't have to worry about cooking for the next couple of days. My son took the week off work, so he's going to be home with mama and making certain that we've got their dog. They'll come by either tomorrow or Friday to pick him up. Their dog is a big old monster that takes up my couch, but that's okay. He's a good dog. Right now he's asleep. Right now my puppy's asleep on the couch next to me, and the big dog is asleep on the floor. I just let him in. Right. Of course he waits till after I start the stream to decide he wants back in the house. But then let's see here. Got the hurricane beating the crap out of Big Bend area of Florida, which is what's going on there. And let's see what else is going on. Hearing about a few things going on politically. Like I said, I've been up 40 hours. Oh, okay. That's what that is. Um, I've got my phone beeping in my head, which is fine. Um, I think I like this new cell phone. I'm not 100% certain. I'm. It's got a bunch of bells and whistles on I'm not used to. It asks me what time I go to bed at night, and I said in what time I normally go to bed, what time I normally get up, and what days I do it on, because I don't always go to bed at the same time. And it was supposed to, okay, the phone will go to grayscale and tone itself down and such, and only phone calls from certain people will be able to get through. That's fine, because our bank likes to text us at 2 o'clock in the morning as to how much money we got in our bank account. And sometimes those text messages come through and wake us up. So it's like, okay, that'd be great, man. Dull out that. Well, even on the nights I don't want it to shut itself off, it shuts itself off. So yeah, I'm not too happy about that. But anyway, so I had to shut that thing off because of the simple fact that it's bugging the crap out of me. Um, okay, now the phone's stopped beeping at me. Oh, okay. Ooh, now I'm factcheckbiden.com. Oh, the GOP finally decided to take a lesson from the Democrats and start putting fact checks on Biden. Now they're only about 2 years too late. But then the man's been a known liar from day one. Let's see here. Let's go to Weather Underground. Whoops, I don't want to do that channel. Let's come over here, Weather Underground. And see what this hurricane is doing. Shut that off. Okay, what? Yep, it has moved ashore. Okay. Oh, Jim Cantor. Yep, he's out in the middle of it. Oh, Lord have mercy. Yep, let me share this page real quick. Present, share screen. Look at that, man. Gulfport Casino. The sign is getting, that water's getting pretty stupid high. Old Jim Cantor, man, and when he shows up in your area, you know you're in trouble. That's the Big Bend area of Florida right there. So actually, I had to explain to somebody that lives here. Now, granted, they've just moved down here from a while back, but still had to explain to somebody that lives here what the Big Bend actually is. Um, a friend of mine owns a house in this area here. Talked to him. His mama lives there. Talked to him the other day to make certain that he and his family were safe. Hey, good morning, Ramen. I sent you an invite if you want to pop on. But I'm hoping that I remember when Michael hit us 5 years ago that yeah, too early. It's late for me. I've been up for 40 hours now, ramen thereabouts. I was hoping to be in bed asleep by now, but I tried to crawl in bed and things just didn't go that way. So I'm bored and is either try to half-ass my way through a video game, uh, through Bard's, through the, through Bard's Tale, or just go ahead and stream. So, because ain't nothing on television worthwhile watching. So let's see what else here. The spaghetti tree models. Gotta love spaghetti trees. If you've never seen it here before, I love the spaghetti trees, because what this does here is this takes all the different forecasts and breaks them all out. See, that's how they get this big old cone, the cone of death. Is they take all these different. I'm getting some.
In a world full of fakes,
Oh,
how
that
to
must
avoid
be
buying
from.
fake items that look just like the real
Where
thing.
am I getting
Are you
some
getting
audio
faked over?
from?
Experts say it's all in
Oh,
the
is that from my
details.
phone? No, it's not from my phone. Huh. I'm getting some audio from somewhere. I don't know where.
Idalia has made landfall and now begins its inland track, where catastrophic winds, surge, and all the impacts right now with this storm are in progress. Winds right now 120 miles per hour. There's a look at the peak storm surge forecast. Now, this is very much on track. We are already.
I'm going to. There we go. Shut that down. Add attack from what? Yep. Hey, morning, Johnny. How you doing today? Yeah, it's from Weather Underground. Normally did not have ads. Now they got ads. That's a shame. Yeah, Johnny, it's my streaming for the past couple of weeks, unfortunately, has been a little erratic. I've been dealing with other issues. I've got I had the grandbaby born the other day, and then I've uh, done some cooking for the family, for my son and wife, daughter-in-law, and his and the new baby yesterday, and well, I mean, ain't no real big secret. Been having just not asking for sympathy, but just having a lot of procedures on my legs. Doctor scheduled me for about 9 procedures on my legs, and he's like trying to do 2 or 3 of them a week, every week, to try to knock them all out. But so that means I've got to get there in the morning, and I don't get out there until late afternoon or early afternoon, and get home and try to live a normal life. So that's sort of interfered with the streaming on my end. But I think I've only got another 2 weeks of them, and then they'll be done. And what it's all boiling down to is that it's long term process. They're long and the short of it is they trying to keep me out of a wheelchair as long as possible. So, and believe me, I want out of the wheelchair. Uh, a year ago, I could walk 7,000 steps a day with no problem. Get up around 8,000 and my legs start giving me crap. Now I hit 4,000 and my legs give me crap. On a good day, I might be able to hit 3,500. So, but you do what you got to do, because if you want to have a life beyond the four rooms of your the four walls of your house, you got to do it. There was I saw an article last night. Okay, I gotta shut off this dark mode, unfortunately. Okay, let's see here. Uh, 8,000 fake uh, voter registration. Okay, here we go. This is a story I just found out about last night, which surprises the daylights out of me. Oh, I tell you, Johnny, this grand boy baby of mine, he is. Well, I want to thank you for watching the replay, Johnny. But this grandbaby, I've only seen him for about a couple hours the other night, the day he was born. Didn't get a chance to see him yesterday, but probably this weekend before I get a chance to see him again. What happened? Okay. So here is an article that I just heard about yesterday, and you would think that this would uh, be all over the place. Did Michigan police uncover 2020 Democratic election plot? Yada, yada, yada. Let's scroll down past the political portion of it. Okay. Michigan election, Democrat operatives caught in October of 2020, turning in up to 10,000 fraudulent voter registrations per day, many with the same handwriting and fake addresses. Police investigated reports and found guns with silencers, burner phones, rental cars, and warehouses where ballots and registrations stored, all funded by a Democratic strategy firm. All right, so let's get down here to the nitty gritty. The article relies upon a heavily redacted police report about voter registration applications. The report contains allegations that bogus forms were submitted to the Muskegon city officials in Michigan in October 2020. The report does not contain any charges. It details how a city clerk told police she suspected voter fraud. Officers carried out an investigation into the addresses, including hotels and businesses, associated with vehicles and names connected to the claim. The clerk suggested the information in the forms may have been faulty or contained handwriting that was similar. As part of the police investigation, searches were carried out on multiple premises, with officers finding items at one location in Southfield, Michigan that include completed and partially completed voter registration forms, semi-automatic rifles, joined with suppressors and optics and customized pistols. All right, now another search also showed a receipt of let's see, $242,000 from Joe Biden for president and $242,000 from Gary Peters for Senate. GBI strategies. Interesting. However, the payment information alone is not proof of a conspiracy between the firm and the Democratic Party. Remember during the Clinton run against Trump, how Clinton's team had paid out another group who paid out another group to go out and hold all these mass protests at Trump's campaign events. You know, the campaign events where people were egged and attacked and chased to their vehicles. And the reporters all asking Trump, what are you doing to cause all these people? Why aren't you stopping these attacks? You know, they're blaming Trump for these attacks on his supporters by the liberals. They weren't blaming liberal groups. They weren't asking Hillary about her supporters attacking Trump. They were, you know, the media was doing it back asswards. And once again, Democratic money being funneled to a group who's got 20,000 fake, reportedly fake voter registration forms. Yeah. Now, part of the report I read last night, part of the report that I was reading on last night, when I couldn't sleep, was that all this was turned over to the FBI back in 2020. And supposedly the FBI is saying it's still under investigation. Still under investigation. Well, yeah. Isn't that something else? Okay. Now, here is the story by the Gateway Pundit that fact checked was on. Breaking: Michigan AG Dano Nessel confirms 8 to 10,000 suspected fraudulent registrations delivered to Muskegon clerk in 2020. As noted in Michigan State Police report, she buried it from public. Yep, same thing we just read. The far left Detroit News reported on this latest development Thursday after reporting by the Gateway Pundit earlier. A redacted police report describes how the Muskegon City clerk, Mensch, encountered a woman dropping off 8 to 10,000 completed voter registration applications. Gateway Pundit reported the registrations include the same handwriting, non-existent addresses, and incorrect phone numbers. Investigated found the woman worked for GBI. GBI is funded by dark money super PAC Black PAC, which paid him $11,254,919 to register voters for Joe Biden. Gateway Pundit reported earlier during the investigation, the police found guns, burner phones, prepaid cash cards, incomplete registrations at a defunct eyeglass store where GBI had set up operations. All right. Yep. Detroit News has confirmed their reporting. The report was dropped before the weekend. It's massive development. Let's see here. Scroll down here a little bit. Fraud is determined to happen at the lowest levels of the company. The leading internal indications that fraud was being perpetrated against GBI by its employees to fabricate work product without conducting the work. Yeah. So this is 8 to 10,000. Now understand, these are voter registration applications. These were not ballots. But if they were dropping off 8 to 10,000 a day, or even every couple of days, and this is the first time it got caught, how many voter ballots got sent out? Just an interesting question. Let's do this as a thought experiment. Let's say 9,000. Let's go with 9,000 a week. And they started the first week of October. So they got caught the fourth week of October. Okay. So let's give them 3 weeks. That's 27,000 fraudulent ballots, that voter registration cards that got turned in before they got caught. Yeah, Johnny, you're right. They did try to spy on them. So let's say 27,000 fraudulent voter registrations got turned in, 27,000 fraudulent ballots got sent out. How many got turned back in? And do we honestly believe this only was going on in one city in Michigan? Just one city in Michigan? You don't think this wasn't happening in other states, like maybe in other cities and other states like Philadelphia, Pennsylvania? Where wouldn't be unusual for a large number of Democrats to vote, enough to turn a state. You don't think that didn't happen? Yeah. The, we all learned that these people did a lot of what I would suspect as voter fraud. Okay. And, the left wing's mantra for the past couple of years has been no widespread but proof, no proof of widespread voter fraud. Well, I call 8 to 10,000 false fake voter registration forms is pretty significant. But hey, I'm just a 63-year-old man living in Florida that shaking my fist at the sky and yelling. That's all I'm doing because, well, who am I to know any better? Who am I to know any better? I'm just some dummy that votes for the person I think that's going to uphold the Constitution the best. And let's see here. What else is going on? So if y'all hadn't seen that story or heard about that story, don't be surprised, because when I get up and stay up late like that, and I start getting less and less picky about the websites I go visit. And Gateway Pundit is not one of my normal choices for places where I go to get news. I try to stick to the ones that may have a little bit more credibility amongst the left wingers. And that don't always work. Wait a second. I need to mute here for a second. that was my son just calling me, wanting to know if I was going to swing by to possibly see the grandbaby this afternoon. He didn't know if I was awake or not. So, anyway, that's why I put y'all on mute there for a second. All right. So, oh man, I will yeah, I will post a picture of my grandbaby here when I do a little artful deception to the photographs, mask my face and such. But grandbabies, God, I love them. I've been told I can't tease my daughter-in-law as much as I want to. I can't tease my son as much as I want to. My first grandson that they brought into this world was born right during Hurricane Michael. The second grandson they bring in, Hurricane Idiot. At least Idiot didn't hit us like Michael did. So they got a little bit better. I warned him though I told the wife I was going to pick on him that if that Idiot came up this direction, I was going to tell him that I was going to take my boy out and crush him so that he couldn't produce any more grandkids. Wife didn't find that so funny. Did not find that funny. Hey, Duck Dog, how's it going? Speaking of oldie moldies, Medicare is going to be doing a stream on August 31st. Let me post. I reposted it, but just in case anybody did miss it, here it is. Mr. Medicare. Oh, hey there. Just crawling on my coffin to announce on the end of the month stream on the 31st at YouTube around 7 Central. That's tomorrow. I'll post the link in the exact time beforehand. I wasn't expecting to be streaming again, but his life has turned into his very own episode of Dr. House and gets expensive. I plan on selling hats. So many hats. God in heaven, the amount of hats will be uncountable. See you all then. So let's try to all go out and support Jim tomorrow. Because Jim's not always my cup of tea, but damn it, this man has fought the battle. And he is definitely, as Jack says, he's the trickster god. So I would not bet against him for love nor money at this point. And Duck Dog, let's see, been up a little bit over 40 hours. So basically, I've been up since about 2 o'clock yesterday morning. Day before yesterday. No, yeah. Whatever. Not yet. The day before. Because I did not get any sleep last night. So, there is a video going around here of Vivek Ramaswamy. I know I'm not pronouncing either one of his names right. I apologize to you, Vivek, because you're saying all the right things. But there's this video going around about 2 decades old when he was a very young man, probably still in college. Questioning old Al Sharpton when Al was running for president. Want to know, why you should vote for him. And people hold this up as And when I say people, these are mostly Republicans holding this up as a reason not to vote for him today. Because he was once considering voting for a Democrat. Years ago, there was a saying: if you aren't a liberal when you're a kid, you've got no heart. If you're not a conservative when you're an adult, you've got no brain. Now, I've pretty much been conservative my whole life. I was the first person to register as a Republican in my family. I registered as a Republican when I was in Arizona and Reagan was running. So, because I think the whole idea that Vivek at one time was a registered Democrat or voted Democrat when he was in college wouldn't surprise me one bit. 20 years is a long time. People's minds and hearts grow. You gain a hell of a lot of experience in 20 years. He started companies. He got to learn how government works the hard way, trying to start companies, running companies, putting up with taxes and everything else that the government does to people. So would I be surprised that at one time he was a Democrat and then he turned around and become conservative, more conservative as he grew older? No, that wouldn't surprise me. I'd be more surprised if he hadn't. But then, depending on where you're doing business too. I mean, if you're doing business in California, you're going to do business in California. And the people you're around with in California, they're going to, you want to do business with them. You got to do what you got to do. A lot of times you got to push the liberal line in California. And speaking of California, oh, this story made me mad when I read it. There's actually two stories here. California is actually suing a school. California sues school over trans gender. Let's find that. Okay, here's the story. NBC News. And you'll see why this. Here we go. California sues school district over its transgender notification policy. The policy requires teachers to notify parents if their children identify as trans or use names or pronouns other than what's on their birth certificates. California's Attorney General sued a local district to block a new policy. Okay. Because it infringes on LGBTQ student civil rights. They are forcefully outing policy wrongfully endangers the physical, mental, and emotional well-being of non-conforming students who lack an accepting environment in the classroom and at home. All right. Andy Johnson, a spokesman for the school, says working with legal counsel to review the lawsuit and its contents. The lawsuit is the first that Bonetta has filed after a handful of school districts in conservative pockets of his blue state adopted similar parental disclosures. All right, now, I do believe if you get down here into it, is that this policy actually violates California state law. Here it is. The lawsuit argues the policy violates the California Constitution by infringes on the students' equal protection rights by unlawfully discriminating against transgender and gender nonconforming students by singling them out to different and unfavorable treatment. The lawsuit alleges the policy also infringes on the students' constitutional right to privacy by mandating school officials out them against their wishes and violates the state anti-discrimination laws. First of all, children, minors, do not have a right of privacy when it comes to their parents. That's my opinion. I can tell you, when my son was living in my house, I could go through the computer that he used. I could take the door off. I could go through anything in his room that I wanted to go through. I could take the door off his hinges if I wanted to. Your child has no rights to privacy when it comes to you, the parent. Because you, the parent, are legally responsible for everything that child does. Don't believe me? Let your minor child bust out a store window and see who that store owner is going to sue to have that window replaced. They're not going to sue your child. They're going to sue you as the parent. Now, but at the same time, a parent in California over okay, here we go. This here's a New York Post article. Get back. Okay, so here we got the state is suing a school, which though in California courts, I wouldn't expect the state's going to probably win. Man, I've gotten used to the fact that I don't have to do unshare to reshare. But here, California mother claims teachers manipulated her daughter to change her gender identity. A California mother said her daughter's teachers were predatory and disgusting after she filed a lawsuit against them and the school district officials that alleged two teachers brainwashed her preteen to secretly change her gender. Jessica Conan filed the suit last week against teachers Lori Caudry, Kelly Bakari, and the Spreckles Union School District. Now, this is from when? Got to scroll up here and find the date. This year is from January of last year. So she sued and won. So I don't know if it's this article, but further on in another article I read, she sued and won $110,000 from the school district in California. So the question here, now personally, my personal opinion here, stuff like this happens where the school district is definitely overstepping their bounds with their parents. You got teachers overstepping their bounds. That money should be coming out of that teacher's pocket. That money should be coming out of that principal's, that school administration's pocket. That money should be coming out of the pockets of the school board members. that allowed those administrators to have these policies. Because otherwise, the money is coming out of insurance companies and out of the taxpayers' pockets. And that's just absolutely, I'm tired of seeing the taxpayers being on the hook every time elected officials violate people's rights. So, and if anybody, Duck Dog and Blaze and let's see here, Ramen, if y'all expected me to have any kind of rhyme or reason to today's stream, forget it. This is going to be a stream of consciousness type thing, going from one to another. I'm going to jump all over the place here this morning. I got into an argument with a guy yesterday. It was funny as hell. They were talking about getting a ticket for speeding. I was like, "Oh, really? How fast over were you doing?" He said, "I was doing 7 miles over the limit." Well, and where were you at? And he told me. I was like, "Well, if you were inside city limits and you're in an area where the speed limit is 45 and you're doing 52, 54, 55, then yeah, you sort of deserve that ticket." I mean, if you're doing 2 or 3 miles over the limit and you get a ticket, that most cops, they're not going to argue with you. They're not going to pull you over if you're only doing a mile or two over the limit, especially if you're keeping pace. But if you start weaving in and out of traffic, or you're pulling away from the vehicle cars behind you, then yeah, I could see you getting the ticket. Because the thing was, I passed that car and I didn't even know it was a police car. I was like, "What?" And he goes, "Yeah, it was a unmarked vehicle pulled him over." And that's what got my goat. Now, okay, I'm going to pull up a picture here. UK police cars. Images. All right. And I am of the firm belief that when you get that these ghost cars, the car's gray and just a slightly darker shade of gray, they got the markings on there, and they've got their lights inside of the cab of the car. Hey, afternoon, Fury. How you doing today? I don't believe those kind of car. I don't believe a car should be marked that way if it's being used for traffic enforcement. Now, one thing I do like about the British and the London, UK police vehicles, you cannot mistake that for anything else but a police car with that paint scheme. Very brightly painted. They don't mess around with the color scheme on them. You see that paint scheme, you can tell that's a police car all the way around. No two doubts about it. It's very clearly marked and highly contrasting colors. If they want to use a vehicle for traffic enforcement, I believe that our vehicles need to be. Go back to the black and whites, contrasting colors. Make them ugly as possible so that they stand out. When they start using unmarked cars or ghost markings on vehicles, that's telling me they say, well, we're out there for traffic enforcement to save lives. Baloney. If you're out there to save lives and slow vehicles down, you'd be out there with your lights on and brightly colored vehicles, highly contrast vehicles, parked in the median where everybody can see you, and people slow down automatically. You're out there for revenue generation. You're out there to write as many tickets as you can write when you're out there in unmarked and ghost colored vehicles, ghost markings. Now, I call them ghost markings because you can barely read the markings on them. Okay, Fury, I can understand that. If they're going to be doing a raid or surveillance, narco surveillance or that kind of stuff, hey, unmarked car is the only way to go. I'm talking about specifically for traffic enforcement. I do not believe an unmarked car should ever be allowed to be used in any way, shape, and or form for traffic enforcement. There was a case a few years ago where the cops were using school buses and using the school bus to peer down into people's vehicles to see who wasn't wearing a seatbelt or who was on their cell phones and radioing it into other cars for them to be pulled over. Again, now we're talking, that's revenue generation. That's all that is revenue generation. You're not making anybody safer by doing that. I don't believe you should be able to be written a ticket for not wearing your seatbelt. I'll be honest. I don't think, if you don't want to wear a seatbelt, that's up to you. You're over 18, you're a legal adult. You don't need the state to tell you you have to wear a seatbelt when you get in the car. That's up to you, whether or not you want to wear a seatbelt. A good point, Fury. I like that idea. I've seen cars parked empty alongside the road. They tow them out, or a car that's not exactly drivable, so they tow it out there, or they somebody takes it and drops it off, and they get in another car and leave, and just an empty car sitting there alongside the road. That slows down traffic too. Hey, morning, Donald. Glad to see you, my friend. So yeah, there's a lot of things that if you want to slow people down, if you want to get people watching the speed limits and everything else, then you do it in marked vehicles. One marked vehicle does a lot more to save lives than 100 cars out there that are unmarked or ghost marked pulling people over for tickets. At that point now, you're just being a revenue generation. Now, I get people mad at me when I'm driving down the road because if I'm driving down a major artery, I get in the right hand lane, people. God, I hate people who do this in left. Right hand lane, set my cruise control at 2 miles over the speed limit, and I just go. I'm on in the 45, my cruise control set at 47, 48, and I just go down the road. I'm in the right hand lane. I leave that left hand lane alone. I leave that for the people that want to do 50 or 55. Sure, I get, I'm sure I get people mad at me that get behind me, but they got the left-hand lane to jump into if they want it. Now, if I'm in the left-hand lane, then I'm going faster than the cars in the right-hand lane. That's a definite thing. So, hey, Donald, uh, like the thing says, I have been up excessive amount of hours. I can't sleep. So since I haven't been able to stream regular, I'm putting a stream out there, nothing planned. It's just stream of consciousness. So, and this was happening with what I wanted, something that popped up in my mind here about police cars and the way they're marked and, guy getting a ticket. But if I could be governor for the day and have, sign an executive order, that would be what I'd want. All cars in the state of Florida, if used for traffic enforcement, must be highly marked and highly contrasting colors: black and white, yellow and red, yellow and blue. Be very clearly and distinctly marked. Be visible from a great distance. Yeah, I mean, it sure, yeah. As long as you're not binding up the left-hand lane, you're right. I don't blame you one bit. If the speed limit is 55 and I'm not in a hurry, then, and I usually leave. Uh, I've got a 9:45 doctor's appointment. My calendar says 9:30, and I leave the house at 10 minutes to 9. So, and I'll usually arrive at my doctor's office at 9:15 to 9:20. So I'm there a good 25, 30 minutes before my doctor's appointment. Silver, yellow, and blue interceptors. Okay. Yeah. I just think cars, if they're being used for traffic enforcement, should be highly marked, highly visible, because that will do more to slow people down and get them following traffic laws than 100 people out there writing tickets. Because all that writing tickets do is going to generate revenue. And that's not, the police are not supposed to be revenue generators. They're supposed to be law enforcement. Let's see here. Oh, Lord have mercy. Now, this is something you don't see every day. Let me share this. Okay, was this it? Yeah. An octopus running along the bottom of the ocean. Yeah, he's just cruising right along. I don't know why my dog has got the shakes here this morning. He just climbed up on my lap and he's shivering. I can make butter on him. Oh, really, Donald? Yeah, yeah. The police right now, over this past decade, have really done a lot to tarnish their reputations with people. And it doesn't seem they're doing a whole heck of a lot to try to improve their rep. Yes, Fury, he definitely has important octopus things to go do. He's probably got himself a girlfriend somewhere. that he's trying to get to. But yeah, it doesn't seem like the police have been doing a whole heck of a lot to try to improve their reputation. And it's not like the left wing media has been helping them any on it. No. And I've said it before, I'll say it again. Okay. My father was a cop. Several of my uncles were cops. I've got one of my uncles was a police commissioner, another one was a police chief, one was a chief of detectives. Got nurses on my mother's side and police on my father's side. So I grew up with a lot of police during the 60s and 70s. I know how dangerous policing has been and can be. But I've also seen a big change in policing too over the past few decades. And yeah, the left, you love. I love the Hydra, the Janus. That's a better description. The Janus uh, that the Democrats are when it comes to policing. They want to take our guns away from us because the police shouldn't be outgunned. That's their number one go-to. The police are outgunned. That's why we need to get assault guns off rifles off the streets because the police are outgunned. But then they turn around and decry that the police are over militarized and that they've got too many guns. So, I mean, what is it here? You know, are you sticking up for the police? Oil field workers or police? Yep. Or military. Okay. Yeah. Let's see here. According to my father, there was a brigadier general in my family tree, a major general in my family tree. My dad was E9 and a captain, had a battlefield commission to captain, and then he reverted back to an E9 in the Army. And then I was just a lowly E6 when I retired. So uh, the family progression in the military did not escalate, it declined from a major general to a brigadier general to a captain slash E9 to an E6. And then my son didn't join at all. Maybe one of my maybe the military will be worthwhile. One of my grandsons joining one day. I'd like to think that the military will recover to where I wouldn't mind seeing one of my grandsons joining. Right now, though, the way the military is, I wouldn't. If my son was in, I'd be telling him to get out. Well, if my son was in right now, he'd be 5 years from his retirement stage. I'd tell him to tough it out for this last 5 years, then retire. How many years were you in, Donald? Because I did the full 20. And honestly, an E6 in the Air Force, about the best I, about the, I mean, I was shift supervisor of 6 people. or controlled a $20 million budget. Yes, I actually controlled, as an E6, I controlled a $20 million budget. Of course, the only person over me when it come to the budget was, well, I had the squadron commander over me, and then the full bird colonel over him, then the general over all of us. But yeah, the oh, okay, and a couple of Ruperts. All right. We When I was in Germany, I got to work with the British and the Canadian Air Forces. And I will say this about the Brit bases. I went to RAF Gütersloh. And I am going to say this about the Brit Air Force. When it comes to the separation of ranks, they've got the right idea. Or at least they did. Been a lot of years, a lot of things changes, but they had the right idea. Um, the there was no way an officer was allowed in their NCO club under any circumstances. We were having a dining in mess, and for civilians, that's where we put on. If you had the military version of a tux, you put it on. If you didn't, you put on your in the American Air Force, we put on our blues with a white shirt and black bow tie. But if you had the tux, the military tux, you put that on. And the mess dress was, anyway, so the pilots were having their mess the same night. Well, they wouldn't allow our maintenance officer go to the pilot's mess because she wasn't a pilot. So she dressed up in her officer's tux and went to show up at the enlisted mess, and she got stopped cold at the entrance to the NCO club. Oh, definitely. Oh, you got to go for a fire drill. Ew, have fun. At least it's a fire drill, not the real thing. But they stopped her cold at the bottom of the stairs and told her that she could not enter the NCO club, the NCO mess, because she was an officer, and that there had not been an officer had stepped foot in that mess in over 20 years. And she was not going to be, and no damned American was going to be the first officer to put foot in that place. Oh, she was hot. She was hostile over that. The next day sucked for all of us, but we all had a good laugh at it that night. Yeah, none of us liked her to start with, but that's beside the point. She was not our favorite person. But anyhow, let's see here. What else has been going on in the news? We talked about Medicare. He'll be streaming tomorrow. That's good. That's good. Let's see here. The Democrats are still pushing hard. They're pushing hard still to get Biden to do student loans, $10,000, forgive student loans. Why? Why? They've already been told by the Supreme Court they can't do it, that it has to go through Congress. I don't understand. And of course, let's not get too conspiratorial here. Like I said, I'm jumping all over the place. I think Democrats and garbage are trying to pull. Does anybody actually believe that all of a sudden, just in time for this next set of elections, COVID has jumped its ass back up all of a sudden, and that everybody needs to start masking, and that we need to start doing mass mail-in ballots again? Does anyone actually believe this crap? There is an article I caught yesterday that is basically an opinion piece how the American people are giving the finger to COVID and masks and government restrictions. Yeah. Oh, too many worthless degrees. Fury, what pisses me off, and I wish I still had the numbers, and God forbid, I'm just going to be pulling numbers out of my anus at this. If I remember correctly, like 70% of administrators of new hires into administration, new positions in the administrative level in colleges and universities and even schools, high schools and such, have nothing to do with education in and of itself, but has to do with diversity, gender studies, race-based studies, diversity hires, quotas, and ensuring that proper number that the students that the student population reflects the some magical quota. Got to have certain number of this and certain number of that, and as long as the numbers of minorities and women's add up, then they're happy. Oh, BLM. BLM is, I would almost say, is effectively dead in the United States. When that came out that the founders had spent all that money on houses and paying off relatives for nonsensical jobs, and how none of the money was going to actually doing anything, that one of the founders was paid to do, was it Netflix? Had hired him to produce programming, and over 2 years they produced exactly nothing. Yeah, BLM's gotten a very nasty look here in the United States. Of course, the self-admitted Marxist co-founders of BLM. Yes, they meant to be Marxist. Uh, they got their millions sitting in the bank, and they're set. Them and their families are set for life. Oh, hey, Fury. Speaking of which, being set for life, I read an article about a young lady there getting ready to get married, won a lottery there in the UK, and they took her ticket away from her. She went to present her ticket. They took it away from her and said, sorry, your ticket don't count because the bank glitched and we didn't get paid for that ticket. So your ticket, even though it won, is null and void. It was, 180,000 pounds or something like, or was that $180,000? But yeah, I would be royally ticked off if a bank glitched and didn't pay a $5 withdrawal on my card, and that $5 bought me a winning lottery ticket, and then I couldn't cash it in because the lottery system said they didn't get paid for they didn't get that $5, therefore I can't get my $180,000. Yeah, that happened. When I can't sleep, I get some weird websites I go to. A lot of strange things come across my head, across my screens. So that's all. That's all fun stuff. Let's see. Oh, okay. Man, I've only been talking for an hour and 20 minutes. That's not too shabby, I guess. Let's see here. What else? Where else can my mind take me here this morning? Um, oh yeah. What is this nonsense about the government, the Department of Justice suing Elon Musk because he wouldn't hire illegals? I'm absolutely astonished at the brass balls on our Department of Justice that Elon Musk, his SpaceX or whatever company, is being sued because they wouldn't hire illegals. That they'd only hire American citizens or those who were on a green card and legally allowed to work in the United States. Now that Fury, that was I don't know if that I guess as a state ran lottery from the way I read the article. Yeah, I know it sounds like a hell of a trap to me, but once again, when I read that article, and I know everybody talked about it when it first came out, but this is the first time I've had a chance to talk about it on stream. And when I read that article, I had to read it several times. First of all, if you're here in the country illegally, you should not be allowed to work. Period. End of conversation. Nobody should be allowed to work if they're in the country illegally. If you're in the country illegally, you should be getting deported. Personal opinion, for what it's worth. One I've stated oft times. I'm a fan of E-Verify. E-Verify, as it was originally conceived, and implemented was that all employers had to, when you got your I-9 and you turned it in, an I-9 for Fury and anybody out, Canadian, British, whoever else outside the country, or even Americans who don't know what an I-9 is. That's that form you fill out that says how much you want withheld on your taxes, and you put your social security number on and everything else that your employer uses. But when you filled out your I-9, the employer would take that and kick that information and e-verify it immediately, because you aren't allowed to start work until that had been verified, that was not a stolen social security number, that didn't belong to somebody in Massachusetts, and you're in Arizona or Texas or anywhere else, that it didn't belong to a 52-year-old man and you're 29 years old, or belong to a 37-year-old woman and you're a 19-year-old female or 19-year-old male, and that social security number you borrowed. And if that number come back as fraudulent, you didn't get hired. You didn't start to work. That you could not start to work until the E-Verify was done. I thought that was a great idea. I still think that's a great idea, as it was originally conceived. Yeah, I know a lot of employers didn't like it because, oh my God, I got to actually get on the internet and check it. Why not? Why not? Well, I can't put them to work right away. Then get your ass on that computer and punch in the numbers and make certain things match out. If I had my druthers, not only would E-Verify be mandatory, but any employer, any company caught hiring an illegal, for every illegal that they hired would be the first illegal would be $2,000 fine, the second $4,000, third $8,000, fourth 16,000, and so on and so on. Yeah, that get real expensive in a hurry. That get real expensive in a hurry. By the 64th illegal, they'd bankrupt them. But for every illegal that they got caught hiring, they would lose all government contracts and be ineligible for any government contracts for first one for 1 year, second one for 2 years, third one for 4 years. Yeah. Businesses start losing out on government contracts. Even hotels, you're ineligible to receive government contracts. That can hurt. That can hurt you in a hurry. Oh, poor HR having to actually work. That just breaks my back. Make me whimper and crawl in a corner and cry for them. I've met a few people that worked in HR that were good people. They were actually there to act as that bridge between the employer and the employee. Their job was to protect the employee from excesses of the employer. But they're also there to ensure the employee was following the rules to keep the employer out of trouble, out of legal trouble. So HR, if done correctly, is not an easy job. And there's going to be days, if you're doing your job correctly in HR, you're going to make them both mad at you. You're going to make employers mad at you because they want to do something they can't do. You're going to make employees mad at you because they have to do things they don't want to do. They want to take shortcuts, and no, you can't take that shortcut because that hurts the employer. Yeah, and one of the arguments I got into yesterday about a restaurant guy spent 20 years working as a server in a restaurant, in various restaurants. And a server in a restaurant can make good money. I personally know one that she works 8 months out of the year, and in that 8 months, she will clear anywhere. What last year she cleared over $160,000, just between tips and salary. Of course, most of that was in tips. She make anywhere from $500 to $1,000 a night in tips. Amazing young woman. Well, I've known her for 10 years, so she's in her 30s now, but she makes damn good money as a server. And then I know some that barely scrape by as servers because they don't do crap on their job. But anyway, this just happened to be a server that's complaining about how the employer wants them to come in. They want them to come in. They're scheduled to be in at 7. Their shift starts at 7. He wants them in at 7:15 or at 6:45, so that 7 o'clock they can punch in and start to work. And he was telling, and this guy said, "No, I shouldn't. I'm going to walk in the door at 7 and punch in. Clock in as soon as I walk in the door." I said, "Okay, that's fine. If you walk in the door at 7 o'clock and you clock in at 7 o'clock, are you ready to go immediately to work? Or are you that guy that clocks in and then goes back to the bathroom? Takes 5-10 minutes in the bathroom, taking a piss, washing your hands and everything else. Then goes to the break room, drops off your lunch and anything else that needs to be dropped off, and puts your soda in the refrigerator, yada, yada, yada. And then finally goes out to starts doing your job at 7:15, 7:20. You've been on the clock now for 15, 20 minutes, and you ain't done your damn job. You're taking care of personal business. When you clock in, you should be clocking in and going straight to doing your job. Not heading back, clocking in, going back to the bathroom, not clocking in, going to the break room to drop off your lunch. You do that on your time. Because once you clocked in, you should be going straight to your job. Now, I'm old school. My shift starts, let's say it started at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I walked in the door anywhere between 2:30 and 2:40. Usually 2:30, I was walking in the door. Go back to the break room, put my stuff in the refrigerator, double check make sure my soda or water or whatever was good to go. Go back to the bathroom, take a quick piss, wash my hands, do a quick walk around to make certain that everything was looking the way I needed it to look before I started my shift. Then go ahead and clock in and start to get a turnover from my relief, from the person I was relieving so they could get out of work. At the time I was supposed to clock in, I was clocking in and I was working at that moment. But too many of these guys now, they want to clock in, then go back to the bathroom, go back to the break room, wherever they store their lunches at, go back to their locker, do whatever. I'm not paying you. to go back to the bathroom when you first walk in the door. I'm not paying you to go back to the break room when you first walk in the door. When you clock in, I expect you to be working, not going back to the bathroom, not going back to the break room or doing anything else that you're supposed to be doing on your time. Now, if you want to walk in, clock in, and take a 15-minute break as soon as you walk in the door, because you get 2 15-minute breaks along with your lunch every day, that's fine. You got your morning break right when you walked in the door. You don't get your next break until that afternoon, till after your lunch break. Oh, you still want your morning break? Sorry you took that when you spent 15 minutes dicking around when you walked in the door after you clocked in. That was your morning break right there. I can't help you decide to spend it when you first walked in the door. Oh, that time don't count, but you still want me to pay you for it? You want me to pay you for walking around? You want me to pay you for standing there with your dingling in your hand or squatting on the toilet? Yeah, I know on occasion, hey, you walk in and your bladder or whatever hits you as soon as you walk in the door. On occasion. I'm talking about that guy that does it every day, the guy or gal. I had a young lady that she used to piss me off every day because she would walk in right at the time that she was supposed to be clocking in. But I never saw, and I couldn't leave until I gave her turnover. I never saw her before 12 minutes after. She was in the building on the clock for a minimum 12 minutes every day before she ever came to the front for me to give her turnover to where I could leave. Every day. One day I decided I set up with the boss. I said I'd had enough of this. I went and got my boss. I told him, I said, I want you need to supervise the cameras here because when she comes walking in, she's going to walk in at 1 minute till. Walk in the door. If I'm lucky, she's going to walk in the door at 1 minute till. When that hand goes straight up noon, straight up to 12, I'm getting my stuff and I'm walking out the door. No turnover, no nothing. The only reason I was letting him know is just in case customer come in that then he could deal with the customer. She did that particular day. She really goofed up because she didn't show up until almost to the front area until almost 17 after. And he'd already dealt with 2 customers there in that entire time period. So yeah. She got her time deducted and he went back and we're still in the middle of the pay period, pulled up the cameras and deducted 15 to 20 minutes off of her clock for every day that week. And when her paycheck come up an hour and some short for the week, she was not real happy. So, but yeah, I don't want to see somebody have to come into work. I don't believe people should have, work for free. No, you don't work for free. But you don't show up and get paid to do something that you're supposed to already have done before you come into work. You don't clock in and go back to the bathroom. Take a 15-minute break as soon as you clock in. And then expect another one 2 hours, another 15-minute break 2 hours later. That just don't fly with me. So that was a pretty good discussion that I got into on that. I've been playing this Baldur's Gate, and I started off with the first one. and I screwed up. I screwed up big time because, well, there's this one area where you go into, and I knew I had to save going into this area. And I knew I had to save several times in that area. But I'd been trucking along, making really great time. And I mean, my I wasn't losing my characters. I got rid of the chaotic evils and the lawful evil characters out of my party. So I had all either true neutrals or lawful good or neutral good, chaotic good. So I had my party alignments the way I wanted them. I get in this area and I'd forgotten to save during it. And there's this, you run across this character that, and I'm not playing 3, I'm playing the original Baldur's Gate. I've got all 3 of them and I'm playing through all 3. I got into this area and died. And what happened? My closest save point was like 6 game hours earlier. Oh, so now I gotta go back and replay 6 hours of game time all over again. No, I did not. No, my primary character Fury is a magic user. My primary character is a human magic user. So, and that's when I played D&D, I had 2 main characters that I ran. One was a human magic user, the other was a human paladin. And the magic user was my favorite. So, and when I played WoW, I ran a magic user, and actually I ran a warlock until they came out with the hunters. And then I started playing. Then I played started playing the hunter, and really liked the hunter class, despite the fact you had to carry a lot of food around with you. You had back when you had to keep your animal fed, or else he'd get mad at you and run away. So, and then I went from a human hunter to a worgen hunter because I just like the idea of playing a werewolf. Oh, I had a friend of mine played an orc priest on the same server, and him and I had fun because we would be talking on the telephone back and forth, and we were going out together, and it was fun. It was fun. We were going through Warcraft at the same time. Uh, him as a horde, of course, me as Alliance, and we'd be on the phone talking while playing. So getting around that, not being able to talk between the 2 fractions. Yeah, playing true neutral is very difficult. When playing D&D, trying to play true neutral is very difficult. and trying to DM someone that's playing true neutral. I was um, I was talking to another dungeon master. He was at he was wanting to play the older version of D&D, and he was asking me, and I mean I had DM'd anything in 20 years, and he was asking me what I was doing, how I did it, and any tricks that I pulled on the party that he could do. And I said, well, my favorite thing I did the whole time I was gaming, I had a guy that decided that, God, he beat my ass. He did. Uh, he was a, uh, what, a cleric? Yeah, he was running a cleric, and he called for divine intervention like 3 times through this dungeon and got it all 3 times. And divine intervention can kick your butt because it can ruin a dungeon. And it did. I mean, he kicked my butt with that divine intervention. Even when, he had to roll a 20 to get it, and he got it. Just absolutely, yeah, da, da. But he come out of the dungeon, right? And I turned him he made a mistake because he never made an offering to his God after any of the 3 times that he got his divine intervention. So I turned him into a living statue and put a perpetual filled bird feeder on his head. Oh, he was mad. He was mad. Just as he stepped out from into the sunlight, the first rays of the sun caught him. Boom, froze him. Perpetual filled bird feeder on his head in the middle of a forest. All these birds eating and crapping all over him. And he was still alive to suffer through the indignities of being covered with bird poop. He tore his character sheet up. I think that was the last time he played with us for a while because it really made him mad. But it's like, hey, your deity got a little irritated with you. They stepped in and helped you out, and you didn't want to do anything for them. So, shape changing in mage disguised as a small cat with a rock ogress as a familiar. Oh, now Fury, that would be uh, uh-huh. Yeah, the old style D&D is starting to make a comeback. I know a lot of people aren't going back. A lot of people want to go back to THAC0. Uh, they're starting to. I don't like this new system. I mean, THAC0. I a lot of times when I DM, the only time people ever you put pen to paper was actually if they wanted to chart the dungeon itself. Hey, Jojo, good to see you. Welcome, welcome. All right, Jojo, let me give you a warning. I've given everybody else. I've been up for close to 40 hours, a little bit more than 40 some hours, 48 hours. Haven't gotten a whit's worth of sleep. I couldn't go to sleep. Still haven't been to sleep. And so I was stream of consciousness stream today. It's just all over the place. Yeah, I know. It is what it is. Uh, I know one thing I forgot to do. Let me unlock my phone here. Do I have any appointments I was supposed to have today? No, I don't. When is my next? Oh, my next appointment is Friday the 1st. What time is that appointment? Oh no, that's not an appointment. Okay. Oh, that's just a reminder when why is that even in there? All right, next Tuesday. Okay, Monday's Labor Day. Okay. Interesting. Okay, I'm sitting here looking at my appointment schedule here for the rest of this month. Next week I've got 3 morning doctor appointments, so my stream is going. The week after that I've only got 2 morning appointments. Then one on the 18th, one on the 19th. I got 2 on the 18th and 2 on the 19th. Oh, that's fun. Then one on the 26th. Anyway. Uh yeah, I've got all my original D&D. I started playing D&D back in 78. Yeah, 1978 I started playing D&D. And back then, I mean, like I said, the only time you ever put other than our character sheets for the most part is only somebody would try to graph the dungeons themselves out, and we didn't even use graph paper there for first year or so, because I wouldn't give it's a 15 by 20 room. I wouldn't do that. It's like, because okay, let's go ahead and roll and let's see how close you can get to guesstimate the dimensions. So it's only when I got a little more intricate with some of my maps. Because I mean, hell, even my maps weren't that accurate that I had for myself. I looked up my stuff one time on eBay, and my entire collection of books was selling for a little over $1,000 as a collection of my D&D, because I had the first 2 or 3 monster manuals, the original DM book, the original player's guide. Uh, I the I had like the first um, 3 or 4 TSR modules that they came out. The one of the ones was the ones where they went after a Dracula like vampire. What was the first TSR? First TSR dungeon mod. Okay. What are they showing here? No, that's from 2015. That's not the first TSR dungeon. What was the first TSR dungeon? Now let's go to Wikipedia and see what Wikipedia's got to say. "1978, okay. All right, here we go. Let me share this. Since we're going to turn this into a D&D conversation, or yeah, D&D conversation, let's see what Wiki's got to say. Levels 4 through 7. Where was their level 1 dungeon? Let's see. Okay, we're looking down here. Dungeon screens, come on. Okay, I know I played the Keep on. I know I played the Keep on the Borderlands. I remember that one. Uh, let's see here. Oh God, some of these are so bring back a lot of memories. The Ghost Tower of Inverness, yes, that was fun to play. That that was a great one to play. See, they got these by uh, yeah, they've got these broke down alphabetically and stuff in order, which isn't what I wanted. So yeah, when Wizards of the Coast bought out TSR, that was a mistake. I wish Gygax had not. Let's see here. I played Forgotten Realms. I played Dragonlance. Ravenloft was a lot of fun to play. I didn't like Dark Sun or Al Quidem that much. Forgotten Realms probably. Forgotten Realms and Ravenloft were probably my two favorite. Dragonlance had some interesting characters in it. So I like that. Oh, what was the name of that magic user with the hourglass eyes? Fury. Do you remember the name of that magic user that had the hourglass eyes? I think he was from Forgotten Realms. Or was he from Dragonlance? Let's see here. Magic user with hourglass eyes. I hate this new Bing. Wrestling my ear, yes. Yeah, okay, it was a Dragonlance character. Let's see if they got a picture of him here. Yeah, here we go. This guy, this character that they brought up for Dragonlance, he was an interesting. He had an interesting backstory. So, oh, Kiefer Sutherland voiced him in the animated series. Interesting. I didn't know that. I didn't watch the animated series. Here we go. Born to a mother prone with trance-like fits and would call her father. Rosalind inherited his aptitude for mother's aptitude for magic. The test of high sorcery. White hair, golden skin, and cursed with hourglass eyes, in which he saw the effects of time on all things. Mm, yeah, okay, that's right. I forgot he'd gone to the Black Robes of Evil during War of the Lance. Yeah, I forgot about that. But anyway, yeah, that's really taking me back in a lot of old style D&D. Yeah, Fury. I actually end up coming up with my own world. I've still actually have it. My son, his group that he was playing with for a few years wanted me to DM it for him. And I told them I would, but they had to play it the way I wrote them because I wasn't familiar with the new rules. And they didn't like, oh, THACO's out of style. We don't use THACO. I said, well, if you don't want to use THACO, you don't want me to DM. But yeah, self-made modules were the more fun because you knew how your group of guys played. Oh, JoJo played a drow. Oh, nice. Oh, Driz. Oh, teeth. Oh, I don't know who had teeth for eyes. Ooh, somebody else like the extra strong peppermint. Yes. My wife gets mad at me because uh the stronger the mint flavor, the happier. I buy pepper extract and I put that in my coffee sometimes. So you always played half of all the wizards with mixed race benefits. Okay. Oh, half elf than wizards. Okay. Uh, I one of the guys that was in my D&D group always played a half elf, but I'll be honest, he was a little touched. He was a little touched. We had to hand walk him through some things, but he knew how to play his half elf though. He knew how to play uh, his half elf wizard. He knew or a magic user. He knew how to do it. It was fun. I have never played under the new rules. When they change things too much, that's when I quit playing. Well, it wasn't just me, but uh, well, I also quit playing. Well, we kept playing under the old rules for a couple of years, but then people dropped out because they got married and their wives wouldn't let them play. My wife didn't mind me playing. We'd play it at our in our apartment, and she didn't mind it. She'd go back in the bedroom and with a pizza and her bottle of wine and watch TV, and we'd sit at the kitchen table with our pizza and play. I never played Warhammer, JoJo. That's something when my D&D group fell apart, I quit doing any kind of that style gaming. I didn't get back into D&D until TSR. Oh God. Uh actually when the Forgotten Realms TSR games came out, and the original Baldur's Gate came out on for the Commodore 60. Did it come out for the Commodore 64, or did it come out for the 128s for the PC? Because I had a bunch of TSR games for the 64. In fact, I had all the TSR games for the 64 and played them. So, oh, But anyway, so what else is going on out here? Let's see. What's this here? Monkeys complaining about the weather 6 hours ago. What's the FBI saying here? Oh, the FBI led a worldwide joint sequenced operation that crippled one of the longest running cybercriminal botnets. With federal and international partners, we continue to systemically target every part of cybercriminal organizations, their facilitators, and their money. Yeah, Christopher Ray. I'm sure if only that you were actually doing that kind of stuff. I'm sorry. I really don't like our new FBI. The whole entire Department of Justice, FBI, CIA, Secret Service, all of them. I'm not happy with all of them now. They've gotten so politicized that they just irritate the hell out of me. I got a question for you. Here's an ad that's on my Twitter or X stream. I'm still calling it Twitter, I know. Where is it? There it is. Has anybody else seen this crap pop up on their feeds everywhere? Every time I turn around, I am seeing either the ads like this or actual videos pushing people to get high on legal marijuana. You want to get a high, but you can't smoke? Buy these. Eat them and get high. Oh, okay, Fury. Yeah. Well, the 64, you couldn't interchange the games on the 64 and 128 because The 128 was was the 128 backwards compatible with the 64? I don't think it was. Or I need to go mute here for a second. Bye. Okay, that was my son that just called me, and he is on his way over with his wife and the grandbaby. So I need to cut the stream because I get to spend a few minutes with my grandbaby. So, yeah, these ads, though, I'm getting tired of seeing these ads. I've never smoked weed. I've never done anything with this stuff. I don't want to get high using this crap. So, oh, you had to reboot the 128 into 64 mode. Ah, okay. Now, because see, I went from the 64 straight to a 386. Yeah, I went from a Commodore 64 to a 386. Or did I go to 286 then? No, I went to a 286. Then from 286 to a Pentium. That was my, yeah. I went from my Trash 80 to a Commodore 64 to a 286 to a Pentium and then up from there. So that was my computer history. Old Commie 64. God, I love that computer. Took hours and I've said it before and I'll say it again. My very first modem was 33 baud. 33 baud. Fury, I have no idea. I just know I get tired of seeing ads for Goomies and all this crap all over the place because I am not their target audience because I am not going to buy any of it. I don't believe in I don't believe in getting high that way. I mean, hell, it's probably been I know it's been 2 months since I've even had a sip of my whiskeys. I don't even No, it hasn't been that long because I had some whiskey about 3 weeks ago. That's right. I had to go 24 hours off my pain med, so I drank a little whiskey instead. So, oh, you had the Amigas. Wow. Now, I didn't have the money to go all that stuff. I was lucky to. Okay, yeah. I mean, I I did the Commie 64 with the. I installed the toggle switches into the drive so I could have a device 8 and a device 9. That way I could run 2 floppies. 2 of them big old 5 1/4 inch floppies. Yes. Back when a floppy disk was an actual floppy disk. Well, ladies and gents, my son is on his way over with the grandbaby. I'm going to spend some time with him. I want to thank you for listening to me ramble for the past 2 hours and some odd minutes, 2 hours and 15 minutes. I appreciate that. Like I said, today was just a stream. As I've been up, couldn't sleep, so I decided to stream. All right. But I want to appreciate everybody for coming out and having fun. All right. A little bit of politics, a lot of D&D, some D&D, some Bard's Tale. What the hell? It's all been good. But appreciate y'all for coming. Y'all have a good day. Enjoy yourselves. And as always, be with the ones you love and love the ones that you're with. Have a good day.